With Kenya's election revote complete, what's next for opposition leader Raila Odinga? We'll have a live update from Nairobi. A breast cancer survivor shares her secrets for staying healthy. And the Malawi Kung Fu movie generates online buzz. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening. I'm Esther Gido in for Vincent Makori, who will join us shortly from Nairobi. This is Africa 54. Kenya's opposition leader, Raila Odinga, says he will not accept the outcome of what he calls a sham election. At a press conference in Nairobi, he vowed to launch a campaign of civil disobedience and peaceful protests. Odinga's remarks come a day after President Uhuru Kenyatta was declared winner of last week's disputed presidential election rerun. Odinga said the repeat vote must not be allowed to stand, as it would, in his words, make a complete mockery of elections. He says there can be no dialogue unless there is a clear understanding of the political issues that need to be resolved. He dismissed suggestions that a private arrangement could resolve the impasse between his NASA coalition party and President Uhuru Kenyatta's Jubilee party.
The political crisis we are in is about free and fair elections, specifically and fundamentally about democracy, constitutionalism, and the rule of law. The Supreme Court ordered a repeat election held in compliance with the Constitution and the law. The order has not been complied with. It must be. It is in our best interest that we do so sooner rather than later.
On Monday, Kenya's Electoral Board declared incumbent Uhuru Kenyatta the winner of the October 26 election rerun. The board is now allowing presidential candidates, their agents, and election observers to access the servers and logs used in the repeat poll. Now, joining us via Skype from Nairobi is Africa 54 managing editor Vincent Makori. Vincent, good evening. What more can you tell us about Odinga's statement today?
Well, good evening, Esther. A very, very significant statement today, highly anticipated for days now. What Mr. Odinga is saying basically is that he's forming a kind of an alternative to the existing government at the moment. And he's saying that NASA will now be pushing for the formation of what he called the Assembly of the People, People's Assembly, that will run Kenya until a legislative executive is elected and formed. Now, the People's Assembly says will include the youth, religious leaders, economic interest groups, and the civil society. This assembly, People's Assembly, seeks to restore democracy, constitutionalism, and the rule of law in the country, which he says doesn't exist at the moment or is under threat. Now, very significantly set out 6 key issues that assembly will seek to address in the coming days. He says, first, the systematic failure of the Electoral Commission bodies and the electoral systems. Also will address exclusion and discrimination in the allocation and distribution of public resources. Mr. Odinga said the Assembly will also look at the inability of the state to deal with the root causes of political strife, which include poverty, unemployment, extreme inequality, and economic marginalization.
Now, Vincent, that is quite a loaded statement. Any reaction so far from whatever quarters?
Well, of course, they're trying to cast this as perhaps Odinga trying to form some alternative government. But the truth is that there have been also others who are concerned about the future of this country. For example, a coalition of trade unions, civil society, academicians, faith-based organizations, even people with disabilities and minorities under the umbrella We the People today said the October 26th rerun presidential election was a sham, and they have called President Kenyatta as lacking legitimacy. And also today, the National Council of Churches of Kenya, the NCCK leaders, also called for a press conference and have called for constitutional amendments to facilitate more inclusivity so that we don't have a situation which is the root cause of the problems of the winner takes it all. So it's not only Raila and his coalition that are concerned about the country's state and the future. but many more people, many more groups.
Now, Vincent, with such major statements, yesterday the Electoral Board declaring Kenyatta the winner, and today's announcement by Odinga, what is the general mood in the country?
Well, first, let me actually start by saying that many people have been concerned by the fact that after this point, we have seen violence, you've seen killings, but not once have you heard the president of the nation, Uhuru Kenyatta, or his deputy, acknowledge that dozens of civilians have been killed by the police, including children. There hasn't been some kind of even just sympathetic statement from the government side. Now, people are wondering whether this is showing a sense of insensitivity to certain groups of people. Most people say there is need to have a conversation by all stakeholders. It is not about Raila Odinga. It is about so many Kenyans who feel that there's something wrong and there is a need to address some issues which make Kenyans feel excluded from the mainstream.
Vincent, thank you very much for your fantastic reporting as usual. See you tomorrow.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Africa 54 Managing Editor Vincent Makori reporting live via Skype from Nairobi. Now, the United States is pledging up to $60 million to support counter-terrorism efforts by nations in Africa's Sahel region. This comes weeks after 4 U.S. Special Forces troops were killed in an ambush by unidentified militants in Niger. The attack threw a spotlight on the U.S. military's presence in the region. The U.S. funding will back the Group of 5 Sahel Joint Task Force, a military unit set up by Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, Mauritania, and Niger earlier this year. At a UN Security Council meeting about the Sahel Joint Task Force Monday, U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley said the funding would be provided by bilateral assistance rather than through the UN.
We understand the force will need ongoing support and are eager for opportunities to work closely with our partners to make this effort a successful one. But we believe that the G5 force must be, first and foremost, owned by the countries of the region themselves. We expect that the G5 countries will take on full regional ownership of the force within a period of 3 to 6 years, with continued U.S. engagement. This is the approach that will be most effective, in the end, in freeing the region from terror.
Now, in the coming weeks, the Security Council will discuss 4 options for UN support to the force to make its work fully operational. On December 14, the international community will meet in Brussels for a pledging conference to support the G5 force. The 5 countries are looking for a total of $490 million for the task force. More than 3 million people in the Democratic Republic of Congo's Greta Kasai region are severely food insecure. They are struggling to feed themselves and they need help urgently. That's the word from the UN World Food Programme's David Beasley. He is visiting the country this week and said President Joseph Kabila has agreed to help aid reach the Kasai region. Ethnic conflict there has spawned a humanitarian emergency and turned Congo into the world's biggest displacement crisis this year. Beasley says $135 million is needed over the next 6 months for the Kasai region alone. He says an additional $139 million is needed for the entire country.
We only have 1% of the funding from the donors for the money that we need. 3.2 million people are at severe risk as we speak. Hundreds of thousands of children are on the brink of starvation. So we need to ramp up. We're there. We're ready to go. We need the donors to step in now. If they don't, not only are people going to die and children are going to die, and you're going to have long-term chaos that's going to cost a lot more.
Washington is reeling after the probe into possible collusion between Russia and President Donald Trump's 2016 election campaign took a dramatic turn Monday. Former Trump campaign chair Paul Manafort and his associate Rick Gates surrendered to authorities, facing a 12-count indictment. Special counsel Robert Mueller also revealed that former Trump campaign aide George Papadopoulos pleading guilty to lying to the FBI in connection with the Russia investigation. VOA national correspondent Jim Malone has more.
Former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort reported to an FBI office in Washington Monday and later entered a plea of not guilty in federal court, as did his former associate Rick Gates. Both men face felony charges of conspiracy, making false statements, and money laundering in connection with their lobbying efforts on behalf of Ukraine. Special counsel Robert Mueller also revealed that former Trump campaign aide George Papadopoulos pleaded guilty a few weeks ago to lying to FBI agents about Russian-related contacts, offering damaging information on Trump's election rival, Hillary Clinton. White House spokeswoman Sarah Huckabee Sanders described Papadopoulos as a minor player in the Trump campaign.
It was extremely limited. It was a volunteer position. And again, no activity was ever done in an official capacity on behalf of the campaign in that regard.
President Trump responded to the news with a tweet proclaiming no collusion. Later, Manafort's lawyer, Kevin Downing, spoke to reporters outside the court.
There is no evidence that Mr. Manafort or the Trump campaign colluded with the Russian government.
Manafort served as Trump campaign chairman during last year's Republican convention.
We want Americans to understand who Donald Trump the man is, not just Donald Trump the candidate.
Manafort was fired from the campaign in August of last year. Monday's indictments are the first major steps toward criminal action taken by Mueller since he was appointed as special counsel in May to probe allegations of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. The guilty plea from Papadopoulos may prove to be a turning point, says VOA contributor and legal expert Greta Van Susteren.
There is a trail that goes back to the Trump campaign. We don't know if that trail is a criminal one or whether it is not a criminal one, but it's the first time that we're seeing sort of a formal procedure linking a campaign person to the Russian issue.
With the Mueller investigation entering a new phase, the Trump White House now faces a major political distraction, says Van Susteren.
But make no mistake about it, this is a huge distraction, and we have no idea where that's going to lead. This could be this plea with Papadopoulos on October 5th. That might be the last plea we ever see, or it may be the tip of the iceberg for a lot more to come. We just don't know.
Mueller was appointed special counsel following Trump's decision to fire FBI Director James Comey. Jim Malone, VOA News, Washington.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook. So check us out and share our show with your friends. Coming up, we bring you the powerful story of a breast cancer survivor. Stay with us.
How do you see the world?
I see countries in turmoil.
I see our planet changing.
I see people at peace.
No matter how you see the world, you'll get an unbiased and uncensored view of it on Voice of America. On television, radio, online, and mobile. In more than 40 languages all day, every day. Millions of people tune us in.
How do I see the world? On Voice of America.
And joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lenore Mudu with news on breast cancer. Lenore?
Hello, Esther. Well, the World Health Organization says breast cancer is the most common cancer in women, both in the developed and the developing world. The survival rates vary greatly worldwide. For example, 80% of breast cancer patients survive in North America as opposed to 40% in low-income countries. The WHO says the incidence of breast cancer is increasing, particularly in developing countries where the majority of cases are diagnosed in late stages. Early detection remains the cornerstone of breast cancer control in order to improve breast cancer outcome and survival. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. In the United States, breast cancer is a difficult diagnosis. Patients are faced with harsh treatment regimens and life-changing decisions. That was the case for Alicia Saunders. 4 years ago, she was diagnosed with breast cancer while pregnant. She had a difficult choice: save her baby's life or save her own. Alicia Saunders joins us in the studio now to share her story. Alicia, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So you were faced with that difficult choice to make. and you said no, you will not have an abortion, you will save your baby. What gave you that conviction to say no to your doctor?
Well, the pregnancy within itself was a blessing, and I was so ecstatic to be expecting my first child that I felt that I could not allow someone else to determine whether or not I was going to become a mom. And when the first doctor advised me of immediate termination, I'm the type of person I just could not take no for an answer. I had to do my research and had to seek other opinions.
And then what did you do? What type of treatment did you have to go through to save your baby and your life?
Well, the first doctor, as I stated, mentioned immediate termination. He then set up a treatment plan of chemotherapy in which could possibly harm the baby. I sought a second opinion of another breast surgeon as well as a team of doctors at Johns Hopkins University, and they felt that with my with having no family history as well as my age, and then did a genetic test to determine that chemotherapy would actually hurt me more than it would help me. It would also harm the baby, you know, other than help. So they laid out a treatment plan of me having a lumpectomy within my second trimester. And after delivery of my daughter, I had 37 rounds of radiation, and then I was prescribed a hormonal therapy, which they used to suggest for 5 years, but now they recommend for 10.
This goes to show also the importance of second opinion very often when we are faced with some diagnosis, right?
Correct, correct. As I stated, I'm big, and my personal life, no is not the final answer always. And, you know, although I had this doctor who looked at me as a patient and wanted to be aggressive with treating me, because as you stated, they were more concerned about saving my life versus, you know, my baby's. But I felt that both of us stood a chance. And I'm thankful that, you know, I sought other opinions and that I went and did my research so that I was able to successfully save both of us.
4 years later, you have a beautiful daughter. I saw her pictures. She's so lovely.
Thank you.
What have you learned through this journey?
I've learned to do your due diligence, you know, stay focused, pray on it, seek support. You know, seek other opinions, gather your support group, those who will back you with, you know, possibly exploring alternatives. Don't always take the first answer as the only answer. You know, if I had done that, then as you stated, my daughter wouldn't be here, and then I would wonder what if. But I'm so thankful that I decided to do otherwise, and she is here for me to enjoy her. She's healthy, I'm healthy, and I couldn't be happier.
And women will see you and will be very encouraged by your story. What do you want to tell the women who have to go through your experience? A woman, for example, who just got diagnosed with breast cancer while pregnant.
Well, I want to let them know that it's okay to have fear. It's okay to cry. I cried many, many tears. But then turn that around and focus and don't give up hope. You know, stay hopeful, pray on it, as I stated, seek support, do your research, just know that there are other options. Don't allow one person to dictate your future. Of course, we know there's a greater being that lays it out for all of us. I just want them to know to always give up hope, because there is life after cancer.
Do not give up hope, indeed, and you did not, and we appreciate your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
being here. We appreciate you. And that was Alicia Sanders. She is a breast cancer survivor. Now, as Breast Cancer Awareness Month draws to a close, another inspiring story of survival. During the last few decades, new treatments and early detection have improved the survival odds. But an 86-year-old Maryland woman credits her recovery to her family and love of her favorite sport. VOA's Natalia Leonova brings us Rita Eisenberg's story.
Rita Eisenberg has always had an active, healthy lifestyle. She's been an avid swimmer for most of her life.
I figure in all the years that I've been swimming, I probably swum cross country and back.
But in 1980, Rita was diagnosed with breast cancer. She was just 49 years old, happily married, and the mother of 3 sons.
It was as if a curtain came right down. I thought, what? I have breast cancer? How can I have breast cancer? And he said, well, you have several options. And I said, no, I don't want to do anything. And he said, no, that's not one of the options.
Rita had a mastectomy, and then she opted for then rare reconstruction surgery. 2 years later, their cancer came back. A course of radiation brought remission. Now she's been cancer-free for over 30 years. Swimming, Rita remembers, carried her through the darkest moments of her disease.
It took a while to get my arm back. You know, I couldn't lift my arm, and that took a while. But even when I had the radiation, I would go swimming because that sort of puts me in balance. You know, it's some people meditate. I swim.
But prodding from her son took Rita's work out to a whole new level. He convinced her to enter the U.S. Senior Olympics.
When he first approached me with it, I said, oh no, I don't want to do that. I'm not competitive. And then he said, yeah, well, you don't have to be competitive. Just do it. Just swim. Just enjoy it. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. And then all of a sudden I became competitive. I was practicing and pushing myself.
Rita won 2 golds and a silver in Maryland and then came in 4th nationally.
When she came back from the Senior Olympics and she had 2 golds and a silver, she thanked me for pushing her to do it. And she said, if anything, it'll make my obituary that much more interesting, which that's a good way to look at it.
To those who are battling cancer, Rita has some advice. Accept support, keep active, and stay away from stress. Natalia Leonova, Konstantin Golubchik, VOA News.
Such an inspiring story. And that's our health report for today. So stay in touch. For more, find me on Twitter, at Linormudu. Back to you, Esther.
And thank you for joining us today, Lino. Be sure to watch Lino Mudu every Tuesday and Thursday for the latest health news in Africa, right here on Africa 54. It's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, a Kung Fu movie produced in an unexpected place. And people are talking. We'll be right back.
In Kenya, opposition activists confront police in Nairobi's Kagangware slum hours before the official announcement of President Uhuru Kenyatta's landslide victory in the disputed election rerun. Protests continue throughout Nairobi. The Kenyan court has released the estranged Kenyan husband of an Australian teacher who was killed near her home after police found no evidence linking him to the crime. And Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf hits back at claims by her own vice president that she interfered in the election to choose her successor by meeting polling officials at her residence. Finally, in Ethiopia, the first international dance festival was held in Addis Ababa with the aim at introducing the unique dance culture to the country.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. A calm green oasis in the middle of a bustling city. This is how shopping is done in Southern California. Instead of low ceilings for harsh fluorescent lighting, here at Westfield Century City, shoppers get to enjoy the Californian sunshine. This is New Beverly Hills Mall. It's going upscale and focusing on glamour, luxury, and relaxation. The company behind the center is banking on the design, hoping it will become the go-to community marketplace for the 21st century. There is also a focus on wellness at the center, with a drop in UCLA Medical Clinic taking appointments, as well as 2 fitness centers and stores with fitness equipment. Next up, Apple appears to have racked up more pre-orders than expected for its new flagship smartphone, the iPhone X, which will hit stores on Friday. The company says pre-order demand could be closer to 50 million units of iPhone X versus the original estimate of 40 million. That's more than double the supply of the smartphones expected to be available for shipment over the coming months. Within 30 minutes of Apple taking pre-orders for the iPhone X, promised delivery dates slipped from the November 3rd launch date until early December. And finally, visitors are being watched inside the Glassroom, a high-tech new pop-up exhibit in London. This creation, named Megapixels, uses facial recognition systems to let visitors query their appearance. They are also given estimated data about their gender and emotional state. It's just one of several interactive works visitors can explore inside the Glassroom, an exhibit that visualizes our data and explores how it can be easily harvested online. For those hoping to remove themselves from their digital lifestyle, there's this data detox bar offering an 8-day program of practical tips to help visitors manage their digital life. The glass room runs until November 12th, and that's what's trending today. Now, the Southern African country of Malawi may not be what comes to mind when you think about kung fu movies, but 4 young acrobats in its capital, Lilongwe, are out to change that. The trailer for their first locally produced action flick, The Town Monger, has been generating buzz online and drawn interests from regional cable distributors. The film will premiere in Malawi this week. Lamek Masina has more.
The buzz started soon after the director posted the film's trailer online.
It's not what we expected, and we have been overwhelmed by the response. And we have taken, I think, some time now just to sit down and trying to re-strategize, like, okay, where do we go from now?
Ufewa Acrobatics is a group of 4 school dropouts from the Area 36 township in Malawi's capital. The acrobats are self-taught. They learned by watching Jack Chan movies and videos of Cirque du Soleil.
At first, we were performing around our neighborhood. After the positive response, we started performing in townships, performing in the streets. In the process, people would give us money for each performance.
Making their own movie seemed a natural progression. In 2015, they embarked on The Town Monger. The film tells the story of the challenges they have faced.
We have sometimes been accused by many people, even by our own relatives, that what we are doing has no future. But I could not back down because I had a vision, and moreover, there are skills which God blessed me with.
The 82-minute movie was filmed using a board camera and a board iPad. The set was the streets they know well. The action movie got mixed reviews at its first local screening to journalists.
What has impressed me the most is the setting, as in at the beginning when the movie was being set, it wasn't just linear.
It never had a lot of dialogue that they can really grow on. It never had a lot of female actors. We only saw 1 female actor. That we can also definitely grow on.
Meanwhile, several regional TV networks have expressed interest in buying rights to the film. It is entirely in the local language, Chichewa. Producers are busy adding English subtitles. The 4 young men are preparing to stage live action performances of The Town Monger, and they hope to one day perform abroad. Lamek Masina for VOA News, Lilongwe, Malawi.
And that's our show for today. Good night from Washington.
Welcome to English in a Minute. A plate is a dish that you put your food on.
Have a lot on your plate. Hey, Anna, I'm having a party this weekend. You should come.
I wish I could, but my weekend is really busy. I'm baking a wedding cake, writing my article, teaching 2 classes, and oh, my parents are visiting.
Wow, you have a lot on